Hello everyone. It is now time to play MISTROGUE, Mist in the Living Dungeons, which is a game I'm very much enjoying. So this is a permutation, a creative expansion, a rearrangement, you could say, an adaptation of the Mystery Dungeon roguelike subgenre. We have our town here. This is the shop. This guy will teach us about combat skills. This is our storage. And the idea is that we get ready, we make prep, and then we head into not a mystery dungeon, but a living dungeon. And living dungeons are a lot like mystery dungeons, right? The key difference being that the dungeon shifts in real time. The overarching goal is to make it to the 6th floor and fight the boss. And unlike most mystery dungeon games and roguelikes in general, we move in real time in MISTROGUE. And I think the combat feels good. The dodge is instant. You can dodge out of any attack. Right now we have a weapon equipped called the Blood Stinger, which means that when we use our alt attack, we take 50% of the damage we deal as HP. We heal ourselves, which is pretty cool. Like that. And all of the normal mystery dungeon mechanics are here. We've got our hunger meter. We've got books and scrolls. You know how it works. You get it. You've played a mystery dungeon game before, probably, or at least seen them. But it's not grid-based anymore. I mean, there are still blocks everywhere, but it's not really grid-based. The movement is free. But yeah, the idea is you get a little further each time. You go back to town, grab some new gear, and come back more prepared than ever. And of course, we want to fight all of the enemies, because the more enemies we fight, the more gold we get, and the more we level up. So we'll be very prepared when we come across the bigger fellows. It does seem that your levels reset each time you leave the dungeon, but that's fine, really. Like, your skill in play and the equipment you have seems to mostly be what determines how well you do. So I'm okay with that. And, you know, leveling up each time we re-enter the dungeon isn't such a big deal. Especially since I like hitting the enemies. You see we got the mini-map up there in the upper right. It says Loop 1. I assume that means that after we beat the boss, we can replay the Living Cave dungeon on a harder loop. As to the story, this blue crystal's the exit to the next floor, by the way. As to the story, we don't have... Oh, that was close. Yeah, so you can... It's kind of scary, but you can roll over these. You just got to be careful. The story, though we haven't gotten much of one yet, seems to be that we're looking for a mysterious person who apparently went into these living dungeons and just didn't come back out for whatever reason. We don't know much more than that, though. But hey, mystery is a core component in the narrative of these games anyway, so I don't think there's a problem with that. Can we put on a second bracelet? We can. It's kind of neat that they let you put on 2 bracelets and many rings. As you can see, we're wearing 4 rings right now. Oh yeah, I suppose I should talk about the other skills we have equipped. So, wrong button. So, our Blood Stinger can do that 3-hit combo slash the Blood Strike, which we gain HP by 50% of dealt damage, is how they put it. And we have Divide, which delivers an attack with a potency of 180. I don't know exactly what that means, but I do know that it looks like this. So that's neat. We also have, on our shield, we have a couple of skills equipped. One of them, which I believe heals us. Yeah. And the other one, which I think, yeah, gives us a defense buff. So those are neat. When we fight the boss, those will probably be very important. I think we might have already explored everything there is to explore in this place. Oh, no. See, there's more. Well, a little more. Not a lot more, but that was a tile that we didn't see before. So that counts. Yeah, I really love the premise of this game. Like, functionally, is it all that different from normal Mystery Dungeon? The real-time combat makes it plenty different by itself. But the living dungeon aspect, where you don't see the randomness ahead of time, I think that's mostly just for aesthetic. Like, from a functional perspective, it doesn't matter too much that the randomness is initially hidden from you. It's just a cool visual detail. These big chunky dragons have more attacks than most of the other enemies, and some of the attacks lend to a greater amount of vulnerability, of course. Some of the pathways we cross in the living dungeon will collapse behind us. That green crystal, that's an exit back to, I think the town's name is Lutgar, not very subtle. But that's our home base. The green crystals take us back to home base where we can stock up for the next run. So it is a run-based game, just like most Mystery Dungeon games are. So far, I mean, this is the first dungeon, so this statement may be fairly obvious, but so far, I found it pretty manageable and simple. There are, like, you know, just like in other Mystery Dungeon games and roguelikes, there are monster closets and such. And depending on what layout you get, the enemies can be placed in such a way that you have very little room to maneuver, which does make things more challenging. But you know, generally, I find it pretty agreeable. The controls are fluid, the difficulty is manageable, but not too simplistic. And it just feels like a really heartwarming game, I suppose. You know, well, hello there. Seems like you were stuck for a moment. Sorry about that. You know, sometimes these living dungeons, they permutate themselves, but not us. We get all permutated. So, like, it's just sort of exciting and heartwarming to see a passionate reconstruction of the core principles of Mystery Dungeon games, because I have played a lot of Mystery Dungeon games, less so in recent years, right? But I played the original Pokemon Mystery Dungeon a lot, and it was the first video game to make me cry. And then after that, you know, I got into the history of Mystery Dungeon games. I played the, what was it? The Nightmare of Druaga Mystery Dungeon game on the PS2. I played Shiren the Wanderer, I think, on the not Super Nintendo, but the DS version, which is a remake of the Super Nintendo version, I think. And then I got really into Shiren the Wanderer for a bit. Really liked Shiren the Wanderer. A new Shiren the Wanderer actually came out that I haven't played yet. I started it up, but didn't do much with it. I should get to that. I played Chocobo's Mystery Dungeon, the one on the Wii. I think there's another one, though, on the PS1, if I recall correctly. So yeah, I've played a lot of these games. And you know, the concept is generally pretty appealing to me. I like adventure. And Mystery Dungeon games are basically adventure simulators. You never know what you're going to get, and a big part of adventure is the mystery, the uncertainty, the experiencing of new things in new ways that you hadn't ever precedented, that your character could never have precedented either. We're a bit hungry, it looks like. That reminds me, One Way Heroics, that's another Mystery Dungeon game I've played. I cannot recommend One Way Heroics. To be clear, the original, not the remake. Please play the original. I cannot recommend One Way Heroics strongly enough. I love that game. It is much like a Mystery Dungeon game, except instead of going into a dungeon, you're on the overworld the whole time. And the gimmick is that you are constantly moving to the right. Because from the left, there is darkness encroaching, and if the darkness touches you, it's game over. So you have to manage all of your turns and all of your moves in combat very carefully. Because if you waste too much time, you dawdle too long, the darkness will catch up and put an end to your adventuring. It's a very romantic, very grim premise. Cool ring. And, the game has some surprisingly poignant and existential writing, if you're patient enough. Strongly recommend it. Very, very enjoyable game. Also very indie. Just like this game, actually. Yeah, this game and One Way Heroics have a lot in common. They're made by very indie studios. Made by people who were passionate about Mystery Dungeon games and wanted to put their own spin on the formula. So they're very similar, actually, in that way. And just like oh, hold on. We are finally out of eat. We need more eat. And just like One Way Heroics, I feel like MISTROGUE really knocks the ball out of the park. Now, I think that one-way heroics might have a little bit more replayability, simply due to the nature of the randomized elements. Like, a lot of the mystery dungeon mechanics are in MISTROGUE, but not as many of them as are in one-way heroics. So there's not quite as much variety, and one-way heroics has things like towns and ally NPCs and charisma stats you can use to recruit folks and stuff, you know? But, you know, this game's trying for a different thing. Not all mystery dungeon games have one-way heroics mechanics either. I really should have gotten out of the way. Let's see here. Let's use the heal. There we go. Oh, yep. These are some of the falling platforms I was talking about. And we tricked an enemy into walking into the pit. That wasn't really intentional. Is it still a trick if it's an accident? I'm not sure about that. I feel like trick implies a level of agency, a level of deliberate intention that may have been missing in that circumstance. But yeah, I imagine that we'll be alright to take on the boss when we do get down there. Unless we're out of hunger again. I suppose out of hunger isn't how one puts it. Full of hunger. You know, the game calls it fullness. I'll just say when our fullness is empty, we'll be in trouble. Because when our fullness is empty, we no longer, well, in some games we no longer regenerate health, but in this game, our health just decreases steadily. Level ups refill our health, though. These things called maze stones that we've been picking up, those allow us to place our own platforms in the living dungeon instead of relying on the living dungeon's platforms. Let's see here, let me... Need to remember I have that move available. I've just been relying on the basic combo and, Vampiric Strike, I'm not sure what it's called. But yeah, that makes things go faster. There's another exit point if we want to return to Lutgar. We might have to if we still have 2 small rye bread. But we might have to just because I might not have brought enough bread. There are critical hits as well, which is why you're seeing some enemies die pretty much instantly. But I do like to clear out floors. In general, and did a new enemy spawn? I think I saw an enemy spawn back there. No? Okay. In general, in a mystery dungeon game, if I can't clear out a floor, I feel like I'm not doing well enough, and as such, I'm underprepared for what comes next. Which may not always be the case, but I generally feel that way. Ooh, the wolves. The wolves have 2 attacks. That one's the one to watch out for. The one where they dash back and forth. Because there's quite a range on that one. Almost fell off the edge. Got to be careful. But yeah, the enemies are actually really good at making use of the limited space. You have to be very careful with your movement, very deliberate. And I like that. I like thinking about where my character's going to end up when... Oh, that was close. Thinking about where my character's going to end up when I make a move in real time. You know, it gives me... It gives me a lot to consider. I haven't fought enough of these guys to really get their whole thing. It looks like it might do something funky, but it might not. Looks can be deceiving. These magma... Let's see here, what do we got? These magma golems, they're a big deal. They have huge AoE attacks, and they can catch you on fire. Although, hold on. Our crystal shield prevents status effects such as poison and burn. So, he shouldn't be able to burn us, because I equipped a shield that prevents burn. Yeah, I don't appear to be burning. Like, you don't want to have to tank enemies like that. Sometimes it's for the best, though. But yeah, I deliberately chose that shield because The idea of just being indefinitely invulnerable to burn and poison seemed like a great boon. Like, of course, I would prefer to be invulnerable to flame, if at all possible. Yes, please. We might have to go back. Like, I might have to call it here and then come back for another run. Just because we don't have enough food. Which is unfortunate, because we're almost at floor 6. We're almost at floor 6. But I only have a small rye bread. And it doesn't look like any of these other things refill our fullness. You know, being risky is part of the experience. We'll see how I feel about it after I clear out this floor. The enemies can gang up on you real fast. And just like in most mystery dungeon games, you know, it's easy to get a bit of an ego. Oop, missed. It's easy to get a bit of an ego and think that you got something handled when you most certainly do not. I had to dodge out of one of my attacks, so I didn't get to use it. I think it was the, what's it called? Divide. Yeah, that one. Nothing over here. All right. Still haven't found the exit yet. Bronze Ring of MP. My fullness is at 0. We might have to just come back, unfortunately. Like, as much as I don't want to leave the dungeon most of the way finished. Well, we'll see. We'll see how I feel when we get there. So, oh, Bronze Ring of Attack, Surprise Bracelet. So the thing is about real-time games. What is this guy? He moves fast, that's for sure. Look at him go. Look at that guy go. So the thing about games with real-time combat is you've got to be careful to balance it in such a way that it's engaging for people who are familiar with action games. But if you're aiming for general audiences, you also have to create it in such a way that that you're not alienating folks who don't have the reflexes. And I do think that this game may lean a bit. You know, maybe I'm not one to talk with how much trouble I'm having killing this tiny goblin. Like, I'm trying to preempt his movements. There we go. I think the reason that he was so difficult to fight is probably because he had an item. That's probably what their gimmick is. Anyway, as I was gonna say, I do think this game may lean a bit too much in favor of the player. But this is again the first dungeon, right? I have no reason to believe that it won't get much harder later. Alright, we're going to head back. I've made the decision we're going to head back. We're going to sell our stuff. I'm going to come back with a lot of bread. You hate to leave like that, but it was the right call. Yes, first I would like to sell many things. Let's see. I don't want that. I don't want... Oh, oops, I didn't know that was equipped. Let's see. I thought I had an extra one, but I do not. I don't want that. Let's see, that's equipped. What have we... Let's see here. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. Don't want that. Don't want that. You know, I saw a lot of things that a lot of people would probably consider fairly useful. What's a surprise bracelet? Don't want that. I'm good without the poison. Second surprise bracelet. What's high ember? High ether. You know, high ember sounds a little more interesting, but I definitely don't need that much MP. Let's see what we've got here to buy. I want to buy rye bread. I want to buy so much rye bread. Thank you. Let's see what we've got in equipment. Already bought the crystal shield. Yeah, nothing new really. All right. I think we're good to go. Just gonna take a sip of water real quick. All right, here we go. Oh, our carrying weight is 30. I swear it was 10 just a moment ago. Let's see. Did I... Yeah, okay. I bought all of the bread. All of it. It's all gone. I thought I bought more than that, but I could just be mistaken. Like, I was fairly positive I bought more than that. But it should do. This should do. Oh, yeah. Okay, so the limit for the dungeon is 10.2 weight. Which means I should store things. Let's see. Put. Potion. I don't really need potions. I have so many things to heal myself with. Let's see what... Put the high potion in there. Put the potion of strength in there. Silver ring critical damage in there. Put that in there. Okay. Now let's take out any bread that we... Okay, no, we did not... We still have only 4 bread, but that should do. You know, that's the thing about the hunger mechanic, the fullness mechanic, I should say. Is that if you go through the trouble of exploring every floor thoroughly, just like I recall happening a lot in Shiren the Wanderer, and less so in Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, you risk completely running out of food items. And then you won't be able to adequately take on the boss character. It does appear that our equipment physically changes when we equip new items, which I didn't expect in an indie game like this, actually, because that does take a lot of effort to make every single item equipable. Not equipable, but rather have it show on the player character, have it appear on the model. I know there are a lot of much higher budget games which don't manage that. But we'll change our shield out here in a moment and see if that's true or not. I think it is because we currently have the Blood Stinger equipped as our weapon. And that thing looks like a Blood Stinger to me. That thing I'm holding, it looks like what I'd call a Blood Stinger, personally. I am very interested in seeing how the other dungeons shake things up. Because it seems like environmental variety would be very important in a game like this, as well as enemy variety. And to be fair, again, if I were more careful, we absolutely could have made it to the end of the dungeon without using all of our healing items, not healing items, our food items as we had. Little tiny lizard guys. I want to be honest, because, like, I play a lot, like a whole lot, of indie games, and developers often give me review keys for games. I get to play a ton of stuff that most people don't. And, in particular, I've seen several of these character models before. The fat dragon I haven't, but I've seen this little lizard guy, just in a different color. And I've seen the tiny speedy goblin. I've seen some of these assets before, is what I'm saying. And I want to stress that, although I've seen these assets before, that doesn't mean the game is bad or any such thing. Like, you know, sometimes you just don't have the resources to make what you want to make, and that's exactly what pre-made assets are for. So there's, you know, there's no reason to be down on pre-made assets, right? Like, there's plenty of games that have been really well made that are done with pre-made assets. I particularly like Freeze Me. That is almost entirely pre-made assets, and I don't know, it feels like people are just too down on pre-made assets in general. They can be used poorly and have been used poorly, but I don't think that's the case here. Especially since the enemy's attacks actually gel with the game design. A lot of the time, when devs use pre-made assets and pre-made enemy models, the attacks don't line up so well with the rest of the game, like, because you can only animate the models in certain ways because you didn't make them yourself. It sort of limits the possibility in game, like if you want them to do a certain thing, you might not be able to. But in this game, it doesn't seem to be a problem. And I don't know if that's because the combat is relatively simple, or they just found a way around any of the problems that they might have had. But I think it works well. Anyway, I think we fought enough enemies on this floor. I don't want to be too greedy and risk running out of food again. I know I was just talking about how I love to clear out each floor, but, you know, last time you saw where that got us. No, I don't want to throw the bread away. I just pressed the wrong button. Thank you for asking, because I almost accidentally threw the bread away. And then I would have bought it for nothing. Very considerate. I do want that chest in the middle, and if no pathways appear to allow me access, then I'll just make a pathway myself. Using one of those stones we picked up. Looks like there were a lot of enemies on that platform back there. Let's see here. I don't see any pathways appearing. Looks like I'll have to make one myself. It's a good thing I saved up all those stones. We actually don't know much about Mist as a character either. Let's see, how do we use these again? Main stone of passage. There we go. Ooh, what's that? I do like crystal veils, just in general. Attach the skill Crystal Veil to the bracelet, prevents poison, burn, and sleep state. Well, I believe our shield already prevents poison, burn, and sleep state. Just poison and burn? Alright. It doesn't prevent sleep, I guess, but maybe we won't equip that one. It seems slightly redundant, but maybe when we encounter enemies that cast sleep spells, it'll be important. So yeah, I guess instead of exploring the whole dungeon, we've now become a bit more moderate in our aspirations. We will now be exploring some of the dungeon. Oop. This game isn't released yet, but as far as I'm aware, but as far as I'm aware, this is just a straight up review copy. So, you know, whatever you're seeing here, there's a reasonable chance it's close to the finished product. After all, that's what review copies are for. I have yet to receive a copy of a game that was for review that was sufficiently different from the finished product yet, but I do play mostly indie games. If I got a key from a big developer, that might change. No, let's head to the next level. We fought enough enemies down here. We gotta be judicious about this. I did one time when I got a key, the developer also sent me a message saying, "Hey there, games journalists, if you're having trouble playing our game, here are some tips and tricks, or please don't hesitate to, what's Mighty Stand? What is that? Hold on. Prevents stun state and knockback attack, and always keep speed 100% or above." Ooh, that's actually really good. I want that. Let's see. Let's equip that. Yes. That's nice. So I should, okay, good. I can't be stunned anymore. That's crazy good. That's a great passive ability. Anyway, one time I received a key, and the developer was like, hey, games journalists, if you're stuck or something, don't hesitate to contact us, and here's a strategy guide. And it felt just a tiny bit insulting. Like, I know why they do that. And it's because a lot of game journalists famously aren't great at actually playing games. And the reason for that, I think people don't discuss enough, is because to be a games journalist, you don't necessarily have to like games or be good at playing games. You just have to be a good writer. Because writers are the people who write reviews at the end of the day. And those skills don't necessarily translate. Like, I love writing a lot. Writing is one of my greatest passions. But it doesn't directly correlate to being good at video games. You know? Those are very different creative mediums. And while there is some overlap, it doesn't really work the same. It's not like one-to-one. And that's why a lot of writers who write like traditional critics have issues with an interactive medium. And that's not to say that all games journalists are like that or anything. I read a lot of journalistic reviews. I consider it part of my duty to read journalistic reviews of art. Because I want to keep track of the cultural consensus on art. So that way I can be informed. And there are plenty of critics who are well-spoken, well-written, and understand plenty about the medium that they've chosen to take part in. It just isn't always the case. And like I said, a big part of it is because you just have to be a good writer. Don't actually have to be good at games. Wow, there have been so many monsters over here in particular. Just so many. Our health's not doing so hot. There we go. Let me heal ourselves up with that as well. That was tough. I think we're going to head to the next floor now. Because I think we fought more than enough monsters. Oh, our fullness is also at 0. How long has that been the case? Okay, there we go. I was so distracted fighting monsters and talking about games journalism, I forgot to check our fullness meter. All right, 5th floor. The next floor is the boss. We'll see how that goes. What's going on here, guys? That looks a bit awkward, what you've got going on there. Not sure I envy that. I'm gonna stay away from that for now, if that's okay. It seems like the further in we get, the more keen they are on putting the large enemies closer together. If I know anything about Mystery Dungeon games, actually, then the boss should be pretty intimidating. Bosses in these games almost always are. Boop. Fortunately, you can't burn me or stun me if that was something you were into. I do appreciate that you've separated from your friend, though. That makes it a fair bit easier for me to take you down, personally. There we go. Alright, now it's your turn. I said now it's your turn. You're not attacking back. Okay, there we go. I just felt a little bit awkward because you weren't hitting me. I know that may sound weird, but it makes me anxious. Oh, missed. I always overestimate the range of the Bloodstinger's vampiric strike. Small rye bread. As soon as we find the exit, I think we're taking it. The exit to the next floor, I mean. Hello. Thank you. Because I want as good a chance as we... Yeah, there's the boss crystal. I want as good a chance as we can get of beating the boss. I don't know for sure that's the boss crystal, actually, but it looks like it because it's red. So I think you can understand why I draw that conclusion. But yeah, it seems like the game mostly is built around movement. Like, you got to very carefully avoid stepping off into pits or being crowded out by monsters. And that's neat. I've already discussed how much I like thinking about spacing in games like this. Don't worry, we have so much bread left. I think it's boss time. Hold on, let's eat another bread. Yeah, well, we'll use the sleep thing on the boss. And let's heal up. Let's heal up. Alright, and now we'll go. Alright. Okay, hold on. Ooh, that's quite a bit of damage. Let's... Sleep spell book. I missed, I think? No, he's asleep. No, he's not. Alright. Well, I missed, but we did our best to hit with it. I think we've got this handled. Like, I can't imagine we wouldn't. Let me just do that real quick. He moves quite fast. So I do rescind what I said earlier about the game maybe taking it too easy. Let me heal again. Like, you definitely need to have all your wits about you for this guy. I really would have liked to have seen whether the sleep spell worked, but maybe he's immune to it. Oh, hello. Was not expecting him to get back up, that's for sure. Let's see if we can't carefully assault all of them at once. Yeah, you know, I take back what I was saying about the game being a bit too easy. That's for sure. Let's see here. I think we'll be fine still. But yeah, I really enjoy my skills being tested like this. I appreciate it. Definitely should have brought a few more items, I think, but I think we'll live. Hold on, my fullness is under 20%. I know we're in the middle of fighting, but let me just... He got me good. Yeah, honestly, wasn't expecting this. But like I said, Mystery Dungeon bosses have traditionally been very formidable, so... Let's see. Another potion. I got him. Risky, though. That was risky. Let's see, another potion. Actually, let me try something here in a moment. Potion. Now, removal. It didn't work. It did not work, at least not the way I thought it would. I might have misread the ability. Oh, I only lost that and some of my gold. That's fine. That's actually not a big deal at all. I was expecting worse. Alright, so now we know what we're up against. We know to prepare better. Let's see, what can we sell? But yeah, that's that was MISTROGUE. I like it. I think it's quite nice. I definitely underestimated its difficulty, that's for sure. But I'm definitely going to be playing more of it. It's fun. I feel like it's a creative take on its genre, And we should celebrate indie games which are inspired by and seek to create new variations on old topics and old trends. I think we should we should celebrate games like MISTROGUE. Yeah, I'll see you around.